What's going on, everybody? Toy Addict 26 here today for a special Thundercast live with my buddy Egmond from We Want More Thundercats. And we've been meaning to do this ever since, we got any type of little glimpse of this cat slayer. And man, I got to tell you, I didn't physically go to Comic Con. I live vicariously through the toy tubers and all the pictures on social and stuff, but holy shit, man. I never expected in my wildest dreams to actually be able to own such a beautiful cat slayer playset, man. The thing is massive.
I
And
mean, you shared a picture today that Kyle from Super Seven showed with his
yes,
actual head where he
yeah,
held it in front of his, and it's like this thing is fucking huge. It's like the size of his head. It's like wow, this thing is gonna be big.
yeah, man, it's massive. And I don't own Snake Mountain, so you do. So you have a better sense of the space this thing is going to take up. I was thinking of doing like a social experiment. I was going to go and get like industrial foam or like cardboard, and I was going to measure out the 53 inches and kind of like the shape of cat slayer and cut it out to kind of get an idea of how much real estate space that thing is going to cover in my room, because I think it's going to live on the floor here in front of this shelf. And this shelf's only, get the measurement here. Yeah, no way. This thing's only 32 inches wide. So it's going to
You can put it
completely
sideways.
cover. It's going to completely
It's
cover
gonna fit
this
sideways.
shelf. Yeah, it's crazy, man. But yeah, dude, I never expected this thing to be so big, so massive. You know what I mean? Like, um, I remember talking to Brian probably about a year and a half ago, and we talked about Cat Slayer. And it's funny because now when you think about time wise, right? I'm sure he was already planning on making this thing, right? But he had to
Yes.
play coy and he had to like act like it's never gonna happen because his focus was getting the Thunder tank out, right? But man, we talked about, the Thunder tank fitting under the paw. And it's funny how people still complain. I don't know if it's a complaint, or I think if they're just being like sarcastic and funny at this point. Because if you had to do that in scale, I mean, that thing, one, it would cost about $3,000 to $4,000, and it would be the size of a golf cart, you know.
That's
So
the sad part. I mean, I saw a comment last night that somebody said that they're out because the layer is not going to fit uh, the tank underneath one of the paws. And I'm like, you know what? I get as per the cartoon, that's how it was. But I mean, sure, this thing was never going to be to scale. If it was going to be to scale, it's just going to be too big. Nobody's going to buy it. It's going to be too expensive. I'll probably buy it. I have to sell a kitty or two or whatever. But I mean, that thing is going to be too big, too expensive to ship, and you're going to have to get it in several boxes. I mean, now you're probably getting two boxes for this layer, but that was never going to be the reality. I mean, if you think about the LJN one, it didn't fit the that LJN Thunder tank underneath the paw, even though there was only one figure sitting inside it. And I think when you go to the comparison of yes, but now the new Thunder tank does sit two people in front, sure it does, because that was the aim of trying to make it as accurate as possible. But with this one, it could never be accurate. It is just
right,
it's
yeah,
crazy. I
no,
mean, it would be cool, but just it's not for this scale. Not in this scale. Definitely not in this scale. Maybe if it was for reaction figures, probably is a little bit better, but not
right,
this scale.
no, no, no. Hey, Adrian Sanchez, thanks for joining us. Um, so yeah, I think, man, like, I don't think it could be done any better. I think the engineering, the thought process behind it, um, creating the extra play space by making the mountain sides dude, that was genius, man.
I
Whoever,
never expected that. I
me neither.
never thought that would happen. I was like,
Whoever came up with
they
that,
actually did this?
whoever came up with that, like my hat off to them, man, because
Yes,
it really opens up that world in the back where
yes,
you're not
it does.
constraining to the width of Cat's lair itself. You have this, and it makes it, and it's realistic because you could think, okay, Cat's lair comes out of a mountain face, so technically they could have parts of Cat's lair that are part of the
Built
actual
into the
mountain,
mountain. Yes,
so
yes.
it doesn't have to be within the constraints of the building. Um,
There is a part in the cartoon where he actually does go, I think in that
hey, what's up,
spiral
Lord of
tube that goes
Darkness?
down to
How's
the
it going?
core. Tiger does go down into the bottom of the mountain as far as I believe. I might be crazy now, but
I
when he
was
jumps in
looking
to go
at
and stop
original
something.
blueprint art from I think
Yes, yes,
either Rankin Bass, I believe, and it
yes,
shows how there's a subterranean section,
yes.
but it doesn't really show that Katzler lives on
Inside the
aside
mountain.
from the actual shape of the cat. But still, like you can use your imagination and it makes sense. And I just love the way they just designed that. It was just so. It's like they retconned playability into a cave just to give us more play value, and it's just awesome, man. And one thing that I mentioned on a stream I was on the other day, which still hasn't been mentioned, and I looked over the specs on the Super 7 site. Um, there was no mention of when you remove the head that there's battle damage, visible battle damage from
It's
episode
true.
20 when they destroy the head. That
Yeah.
there's no comment about that, but um, Brian, no, I'm not sure if it was Brian or um, it was one of the designers
I,
that mentioned that
I know somebody mentioned that
on one
it
of the
was because
walkthroughs.
it
I
was
want to
just
say,
there.
yeah, I want to say it was the Pixel Dan walkthrough. Uh, he mentioned that
Mm,
as a nod to episode 20, or like when Katzler
yes,
was
it was Kyle
back.
that mentioned that.
Kyle, yes,
Carl mentioned that in that interview with him. Yes.
yes, Kyle. Um, no, Adrian says, I guess we're not going to make the 3,000 backers for the key. It's too early to say. I think what happened, unfortunately, we live in a world where, like me, I collect a lot of stuff. And a lot of collectors tend to collect for nostalgia, right? So I feel that there are a lot of Star Wars fans that are Thundercats fans, but their heart lies more on the Star Wars side than on Thundercats. So yes, I think that this HasLab Ghost did impact the speed that the Cat Slayer is being funded. But having said that, I still think we still have a chance to make it to the 3,000 by the mark, because we're let's take a live look right now and see where we're at. Did you check?
Yeah, 1118 something.
It's
That's the
weird.
last I checked just a few minutes ago.
I have a theory that
1184. That's
I
what
have
I
a
thought.
theory that that counter is off, because I'll see it go like for an entire day, and it won't update, like it won't show any increase in
And then
numbers.
it jumps
Right?
quite a bit. Yes.
Yeah. It's like
I
right
also
now.
don't know if it includes the international numbers because I mean they have to get these figures from all of the partners. Like where I bought it in the UK, I mean they
That
probably because it's all different time zones, so they have to submit this information to Super Seven. I suppose I don't know if it's on a daily basis or whenever, but yeah, that's what I've seen as well. So
that's
who knows
another thing
when
I'm seeing. Yeah,
how this works? It would be interesting to find out. So. If this is purely people buying from Super 7, then there might still be. quite a few people that still needs to be added to for international purchases.
Yeah. So like as of right now, so everybody can see the counter, we are at 1184.
Mm.
So we're almost there to 1200. So, I would predict, what do you think? You think we'll hit 1500 by Friday or be past that?
It's Tuesday today, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, this it jumped to 1,000 in just a few days. So it's possible. It's possible. I think probably a lot of people might be waiting for. I don't know how payday is like where you live, but usually we get paid at the end of the month. And that might happen with people jumping on Friday or Saturday. Unfortunately, payday is actually on Monday over here, which is obviously the 31st. But some people might be jumping ahead and taking advantage of this key of Thundera. In all honesty, I'm not going to be upset if it doesn't happen. I do think that the layer will happen, definitely. I mean, we've still got a lot of time. I mean, if just a few days we've passed the 1,000 mark already, there's definitely more than enough time to get to 3,000.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
would like the other two tiers, definitely. Uh, but if we don't get to that liner figure, I hope Super 7 gives it to us later as a separate exclusive somewhere down the line. I wouldn't mind that. Uh, if we don't get to the first tier, then I hope we get that Tigra
The
desk
work
with all
table,
that little
the science
shoes
lab.
and all of that.
Yeah.
Yes, maybe later somewhere is an add-on for something else. But I really just want that. I
No,
badly want it. I never owned one.
I think the layer is happening, and I agree with you. I think um, international purchases are not being accounted for. Um, and also, one thing that was mentioned to me, which, if you think about it, it's kind of fucked up. Um, a friend of mine that collects Thundercats, he couldn't order his cat slayer because a firm does not accept a form of payment that has a billing address in Puerto Rico, which is,
Mm,
it blows my mind because Puerto Rico is part of the US. And while they do have kind of strange addresses, it's still part of
mm,
the continental US. So that's, I don't know, it's not a Super 7 thing. It's an affirm shop pay thing. So, you
okay.
know, our friends in Puerto Rico that want to order this can't order it with a card or a funding source that has a billing address in Puerto Rico.
Oh,
So when you tally that and the whole Canadian distribution hiccup, that's holding back a lot of numbers too. You know,
mm.
I'm not quite
I
sure.
do hope that sorry, I do hope that Super 7 has got some. I know in the past I had a partner in Canada, if I remember correctly, with the tank. I I I don't know what kind of arrangements there are that's happening in behind the scenes. I honestly do hope that people there can get it. I mean, I live in a country where it's not even available. It's not
Yeah,
sold here. It will never be sold here. I had to go through the UK and have it shipped with a courier service to South Africa, which is probably because I really just want this thing. I'm not
yeah.
going to
I
lose
mean,
out on
like,
this, and I know it's going to be expensive.
yeah. Where
If
there's a
other
will,
people
there's a
can do
way.
that,
Where there's a
mm,
will, there's a way. If you want it, you're gonna find a way to
mm,
get it, of course. But being something that needs to be crowdsourced and everything, like I would think they would put a little more effort in trying to make it easier for, I'm surprised with Puerto Rico. Canada, I don't know the specifics of it. Obviously, it's outside the country. Um, my friend Mega J, he has a courier service out of New York. So what he does is he has stuff shipped to a New York address, and then they courier the stuff into Canada for him. So it cost him about
mm,
like an extra $50, you know. Um, but they should definitely have a direct source. And they had one for the tank, you said, right?
I think so. I'm almost sure there was something I remember seeing Canada somewhere. I'm not sure. I don't. I know. I mean, I got the tank with Sideshow, and I know some people in Canada that also use Sideshow. That shipped it to Canada. I mean, that's I got mine for 25 bucks. I told you that last time, and some
Yeah,
people in Canada had the same option for 25 bucks, which was fantastic. I don't know if the fact that only Super 7 is selling the layer has got to do with what Brian said in the last interview I did with him, with companies that order stock and then last minute cancel it. I don't know if it's too big of a risk factor. I'm not sure. I totally understand that that thing is going to be expensive to make, so it's not going to help Super 7 at all to sit with hundreds of cat layers in the back if they're not going to be paid for it. If they do show up at somewhere like Big Bad Toy Store, I think they would probably have to buy these items uh, in full, pay for them upfront, and then have them delivered, and then add their markup, which is obviously understandable. They would sell them at their price, and then it is going to be way more expensive. So if people do want that, I hope it happens for them, and I hope they're willing to pay for it. But it's a tough one. It's a very
yeah,
tough one.
yeah. Because you could see it makes sense what you're saying. Diamond, they have them as wholesale for Canada,
Hmm.
but they don't have a retailer. Um,
Hmm.
and it's crazy because they have Equa collections in Ecuador. They got Pop Culture in Australia. Uh, they got Mame, I don't know how to pronounce that shit. Mameguria in Japan. Distrito Max in Mexico. Action Figuren in Germany. In Philippines,
Hmm.
they got tons of distributors. UK. So it's like, yeah, I think those little factors make a difference. And you know, if we could go back in the time in a time capsule to when Snake Mountain crowdfund was going live, I wonder. I don't know if do you remember any specifics? Like obviously, Super Seven was a
It was
much smaller
difficult.
company in scope, But do you remember there was no payment plans available, right? Back then.
There, there was a payment plan available, if I remember correctly. I know that it was very difficult as well for me to try and get it from Super 7. I couldn't. Um, I think some of these names look quite familiar. I know Polyphony. I think that's the one that they work with in China.
Yeah,
That was definitely on there. I know I clicked on it quite a few times to see if I can get get it from there, but it was all in Japanese or Chinese. I couldn't understand a word. But um, in the end, I had to basically look for somewhere in the US that would ship here, and I ended up with Entertainment Earth. They were the only ones willing to ship to this part of the world. Um, but I know it was difficult back then as well. It was very similar to what this is. So I don't think that it's a question of Super 7 not wanting to. I I personally believe that if they dealt with companies in the past that were willing to, obviously they probably have to get that at a cost price and sell it on their end to also just make it worth their while. Some businesses might just not agree with the terms, and well, it's a business. You have to make money. They're in it to make money. We just there to enjoy it and to collect it, but we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. So that's what I think. I don't know. I might be completely wrong. I'm just
yeah,
a collector.
yeah. No, there's definitely a lot going on in in the background, obviously, but yeah, like you, man, I just want to see it made, and I really don't see it not getting made. Um, I'm pretty sure Big Bad Toy Store is going to buy, you know, I don't
I
know,
hope so.
a
I
couple
hope so.
units.
Because people want it. And I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many people that's been complaining about it. And I get that. I totally get why. I wish that it would have been sold on Sideshow. Because I mean, they had fantastic shipping with a tank.
Hmm.
But I had a friend who actually purchased Mandora's bike through Sideshow, and they cancelled the thing last minute. other people got theirs, but his was cancelled. And I was like, I hope this doesn't happen. If they do get the layer in, that I have to pay for this thing, and then when the pre-order is over and it's all sold out everywhere, they cancel it. So I would have been devastated if something like that would have happened.
Yeah,
So he now
definitely.
needs to get it somewhere else. So uh, I do hope that if Big Bad gets this in, that it's not a case of these items are going to be cancelled because it's not paid for. That they have actually paid for it upfront, and there's no issues with them having to cancel orders because they didn't get enough pre-orders in.
Yeah, definitely. I think um I think pretty much when it comes to this project, it was definitely something, that a lot of thought went into it. I'm sure Brian would not, you know, go through with such a big project if he wasn't confident of, the backing and the support. Um, I know I was on a live stream the other day, and the guy was like, "This thing's not getting funded. No way." You know, of course, he wasn't a Thundercats fan, so it kind of makes sense sometimes when people have a biased comment because they don't,
Hmm.
it's not their thing. But realistically, man, I think Thundercats fans is a big bunch. Maybe not as big as Motu, but I've noticed, that there's a lot of ambition and a lot of passionate Thundercats fans worldwide. It's
Mm.
not just the U.S. I think it's even stronger in in Latin America. To be honest with you,
Yes,
like in
yes,
Chile,
yes, it is.
Argentina, yeah, it's
Yes.
super. And I think one of the reasons why is because they still, um, till I think there's some countries, I'm not sure which ones right now, but I believe there's some countries where they still play Thundercats on syndicated TV.
Hmm.
Because here in the US, we
Also,
have to watch it on Hulu
mm,
or buy the DVDs. But
mm.
there's actually Thundercats playing on syndicated TV in some countries right now. So
I
that really
saw.
helps.
There's something like Comic Con in one of the Latin American countries that I recently saw, and they've got like massive Thundercast displays. There was this one big life-size Thunder tank there. Um,
Yeah, I saw
People
that.
with big action, well, not action figures, but big life-size Panther characters that were like created and beautiful displays. I mean, if that's something that happens for a brand that's over 35 years old, I mean. That's like fantastic. I mean, if it's still so alive. I mean, that's like murals over there with the people painted on these walls, and they're so beautiful. I'm like, wow, that's brilliant. That's I'm so happy. I mean, I've seen a lot of comments in. I'm assuming it's Spanish. I'm sorry, I'm not Spanish. I don't speak it. Um, or Portuguese on my timeline where people are commenting. Um, I've I've obviously used Google Translator, and some of them say, "Please put Spanish subtitles on here." I don't know how to do that, so I'm sorry, guys. I wish I did. I know YouTube or Instagram can translate to English from English, put subtitles in, but there's a big community, so it's fantastic. It's really good.
Yeah,
I hope they
definitely.
get it. I hope they can. I would really say, you know what, if you can get hold of it, don't delay. Do it. Um, like I said, I'm not too too upset if I won't be too upset if the key of Sandera isn't made. I just really want the layer. So, and I do believe that this is probably the peak of Thundercats at where we are right now. This is like the best this line has been, the Ultimates line has been so far in terms of popularity. So this is the perfect time for Super 7 to make something like this when there are a lot of fans, a lot of people are aware of it, and people know of this and they want to buy, and they're quite deep in the line in terms of having established this as a line that is something to live up to. I mean, there's Turtles hasn't even got the party wagon out yet, and they don't even have a place yet. But Thundercats has got this already coming. So this is the best time to get it, and I don't think there ever will be another line like this one. Hello. Yes, we do know Mexico has a good fan
Yeah,
base.
definitely. We know Mexico. Mexico in the house. Rick AE. Yes, we definitely know that. Um, this toy store that I know used to have a lot of vintage Thundercats until one day the vendor said that some guys from Mexico came and bought all of the figures he had and took them back to Mexico.
That's
Huh.
nice.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, like, it's definitely, it's worldwide. It's worldwide. And like you said, I think that convention with that life size tank, I'm pretty sure that was in Peru. They're really big fans over there. Either they were in Mexico. I'm, you know, I'm not quite sure. But I want to talk to you about the unlocks, and realistically what we feel like. Obviously, the key to Thundera is a great incentive. We might not get that. Perfectly fine if we don't. I would be super happy if we do. Uh,
Mm.
but what do you think about stretch goals? Do you think we can make that 4,000 mark by mid September?
Probably, probably. I think this one might be like just met or almost met. Uh, but I don't know what the actual tank sold like because there's a lot of questions as to how many were made. And I know when I did my review of the tank, on my box there was a number of 5,000 and something. So it was unit this of 5,000. And I assumed that there were 5,000 made. But then I saw somebody else's review and their box had the number 2,000 on and it was bought from a different distributor. So I came to the conclusion that where I bought it from had ordered 5,000 units, and then that distributor ordered 2,000 units. So there must have been, with just those two already, more than 7,000 made, which sounds like an absurd number, but it is quite possible. I don't know the behind the scenes information on that. So if the tank can sell like 7,000, then the layer that's just $150 more, 3,000 or 4,000 is probably not that impossible.
I,
I would
I
like this, but
yeah,
if I don't get it, I hope we get it somewhere down the line, please.
no, I agree
It's
with you.
cool.
I think it's very reasonable. I think when we first heard about this happening, um, we had a lot of toy tubers, a lot of people were just discussing price, and some people were thinking up to $1,000 because,
Hmm.
realistically, with the economy and the climate, Snake Mountain happened over 4 years ago, and that was 600. So, you know, it's amazing to me how they managed to make this thing so big and make it only $50 more. And I know shipping is more expensive than Snake Mountain, but just the fact that it's 650 to me it's mind blowing. I think
Mm,
the tier one unlock is very doable.
mm.
Um, I don't know if I need like a 15th claw shield in my collection, because it's just it's the same thing, right? It's probably
I wonder
just
what it's going to be made of. Is that claw shield smooth or is it like the textured one? I'm not
that's
too
the
sure.
weird
And
thing,
that
it looks like it doesn't look like the shiny one. It looks like the
it's
textured
a
one.
smooth one. You see, if you go back to that one, that one that comes with the lino is actually that's a shiny claw shield. Well, it looks like it. It looks like it's like
No, I think
got a
it's just
metallic sheet.
translucent. I think it's just translucent.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
I think
yes,
everything is
yes.
translucent except the sword and the logo on his belt.
Mm,
Um,
that's
but
right. That's right. You're right.
I'm more leaning towards I would like a lab for Tigra than
Hmm.
the transparent Lion-O. Like I want to get to 4K. If we get to
Hmm.
5K, great. We get that Lion-O figure, but I I'll be happy if we get to 4 and unlock tier 1, you know?
Yes.
Um I'm wondering too if all these lab accessories are glued
Part of the mold.
to the table or
Mm.
yeah, part of the mold, or are they going to be removable? Because I would love to be able to put, the beaker in Tiger's hand when I displayed
Mm-hmm.
it there. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And, and I think it would only make sense to make those pieces um, separate, because I'm looking at the table for Panthro, and it brings all those tools, right?
Yes.
So it would only make sense to have all these parts be separate. You know what I mean? Um, but those are questions to
Well,
ask. Go ahead.
I saw on the display that it was one. Well, it looked like one piece. The pictures that we had of the actual display at
Yeah,
the con, it looked like one piece. I'm not sure if it was probably glued down to make it look like that. I mean, there's no very up close of that uh,
it was a quick 3D
on that
print, I
table.
guess, to give people the feel of it. But
Mhm.
I would think it'd be pretty stupid to not make some of those parts, um, you know, loose, so you can just
Because
move
they're
them around.
glass. I mean, there's a part that has got a liquid at the bottom, and then the top part is invisible. So I don't know how on earth they go. I mean, if they can paint around it, then it's going to be the color of the on the outside, but the inside still needs to look like there's liquid filled up onto
Yeah,
a certain point. So I
yeah,
don't know
yeah.
how. I don't know what. Interesting.
That's a good
I
point,
love toy
because
making. It's interesting.
we gotta get more details. I'm a little surprised, that with Comic Con, like, I don't feel like we got a lot of answers from Brian on the floor. I guess people were just so amazed by the sheer size of Cat Slayer that they were just like, I guess they got like temporary amnesia and they forgot to ask questions.
What do
But
you want to know? What
I,
do you want to know?
I
Let's
want to
talk
I
about
want
it. What
I
do you
wanted to
want to
know
know?
about the lab. I wanted to know if those parts are removable.
Yes.
I would
Uh-huh.
like to know. Well, that one thing that they confirmed, there's going to be a backlight,
Yes.
LED backlight on the screen here.
Yes.
That's really
Yes.
awesome. Um, I did want to know, because it's something that was Toy Sorceress from Toy Habits.
Hmm.
She's an architect, and she has a device, or a software that measures scale, and she
Okay.
was able with that device to determine, based on the dimensions that we got, right,
Yes.
that the vintage Thunder Tank should fit under the
But
paw of
hmm.
the Super 7 Cat Slayer.
Hmm.
Somebody asked that, I believe it was to Kyle, and he was like, "Oh, I don't have a vintage Thunder Tank." So I'm like, okay. But I think those are things that you should know. Um, Even if you don't own the stuff, you should do like your research and stuff, because I think that's a big buying point for those that want a tank to come out of the paw so bad. Yeah, you're not going to be
Hmm.
able to put the Super 7 one, but if you have the vintage one, you know,
And
there's
try
a
that one.
that's a little extra bonus. I have a vintage Thunder Tank, so
Hmm.
I'm definitely going to try
You're
that.
gonna park yours there.
It's going to be Panthro's new project. It's the mini tank, and it comes out. It's gonna be like a mini rig. You remember like the mini rigs from like Star Wars? How they had like the little
Yes.
vehicles, the one person vehicles. It'll be like a one mini rig thing. But yeah, man, dimensions. Um, See, like here, when we see the image of Katzler open, they don't give you the dimensions like they do here. So
Actually, there is somewhere. They do. I have seen it somewhere.
yeah, right here,
There it is.
53 inches
53.
wide.
Yes.
Yeah. And there was some other pictures that I wanted to look at that were, I want to say they're here, where it was like all the parts were broken down.
Yes. I saw that as well.
Because you see here, we can see the parts, the separate parts. I'm
Hmm.
also wondering, do you think this chair is
Swivels.
permanently attached to
Well,
that base?
yeah, I think so because they don't list it as a separate chair for that.
Right.
I hope it swivels, but I doubt it because I mean those chairs in the tank. I also expected them in the back to swivel. They don't. So yeah, no, I think it's stuck.
And then this
It,
chair, the center console chair,
that's a separate one. Yes,
that's a separate chair, which I believe is this one here. No, these are the
I
council
did
chairs.
read it somewhere. Yeah, if you read underneath there, it does say that you get
There was some
a chair
pictures. I'm
for
trying to
the.
see if I can find them. See, they're not coming up here. But they had pictures of Cat Slayer broken up into segments and stuff.
Mm, I've seen that too. It might be on social media where they shared that.
Listen, that was
Probably not
crazy. I
on
was
here.
doing a live stream with Mega J Retro on last Wednesday night going into Thursday. No, Tuesday going into Wednesday night. And somebody's like, Cat Slayer pictures are out. And it was like somebody, some vendor, international vendor, posted the pictures on Facebook. So we went crazy, man. We were geeking out live and just reacting to the sheer size of it. And but it was such a cool experience to share that with other fellow collectors at the same time. We were like, oh my God, it was just like being on the Comic Con floor, but virtually, you know? Um,
Mm.
Let me hit refresh here and see if we got any updates. No,
Not
1184.
not yet.
Yeah,
Not
I
yet.
think like, because, I'm curious. So for me, I wasn't able to do a firm. I use a firm, but I guess because I have so many things on a firm already, so I hit my limit or whatever, I didn't qualify for payments. I reached out to a friend and he actually did it on his Affirm, and I'm going to make the monthly payments myself. But I'm wondering for
Mhm.
people that don't have that resource, right? And they can't cough up the 650 up front.
Mhm.
Um, do you think that's a big determining factor of why we haven't seen higher numbers on the backing?
Uh, I wanted to do the payment plan with Super 7, but it doesn't allow it. So I can't. Hello, Big John. I
What's going on,
can't
Rugby John?
I can't pay that upfront immediately. It's absurd. It's not something that I could do. Like most collectors, I suppose, I can pay it off. So I had to go with an option where I could pay it off, which was fortunately in the UK. Um, so yes, I do think that that is something that's going to affect a lot of people.
Yeah,
Uh, that's probably where Big Bad would have been ideal for them if they were to pay a deposit. But then, like I said earlier, if that does happen, I do hope that it's because Big Bad went and bought these, and makes it possible for other people. So if somebody from Big Bad is listening, please go and buy a few layers and put it up. There's definitely a massive fan base. I'm telling you, people are going to, they will pay whatever you want them to pay.
I'm pretty confident Big Bad's going to order some. I just don't know what that number is, but I'm pretty
Mm,
sure they're going to order some. Who knows? Maybe they'll order like 10 units, 20 units, 30. I don't know. But they've always bought everything from Super 7. Um,
mm.
Everything that Super 7 carries, they've always had it. So I don't see why not.
And if they sell out,
Sideshow,
they'll see there's a demand.
yeah,
Then people can buy,
Sideshow.
and they can buy more.
I don't think Sideshow because Sideshow doesn't. They're not. They're not known to raise prices on things. They kind of stick to
Mm,
MSRP. So I don't see them doing it unless they get some sort of wholesale price. And then again, that's another thing. We don't know what the wholesale price on this thing is. You know,
mm.
uh, we're paying 650 individual collectors, but what do you think a wholesale price for this could go for? Like 400?
What would you say? It's 30% less or 40% less? I'm not sure.
Uh, I would say, let me see.
Let's see.
Is that the
650
usual?
less
It's like
40%,
30%.
probably.
So
Let's see.
650. That would be,
Yeah, 40% is like 390.
yeah.
So if it's 650 less. 30%. It's 455. Yeah, probably.
That's a lot more feasible, especially for you know
I'll buy it here.
distributor. Yeah, shit. I'll buy. I would if I had
I'll
a
buy
store,
two.
I would definitely buy like at least 10 units. I know this thing for a fact is going to surpass not Cat Slayer, Snake Mountain, and Castle Grayskull as far as the secondary market is concerned. It's
Mhm.
gonna be like it's gonna be like 2K, like
I
five or
think
six
it's
each.
because it's so rare. There's not going to be so many of them. And like you said earlier, Thundercats is perhaps a smaller market versus Motu. That's possible. Um, Not sure why. Probably because Mattel has been pushing Motu for quite a while. There hasn't been major pushing for Thundercats product from Warner Brothers side for a bit. But Super 7 is doing a bang up job, and I'm glad that we're finally getting something like this. I just want that layer.
Yeah, man.
It needs to
Everybody,
be standing right there.
yeah,
I've cleared
everybody.
things out. I've moved Snake Mountain out of the way. It's gone.
Oh yeah.
It's a place for the
I,
layer.
I I don't have anything competing for space for that. So it's just a matter of finding a spot where I want to display it because that's another that's another challenge that we face, right? We want to look at the front, but we want to also do stuff in the back. So, a lot of people have been saying,
That's the
"Oh,
biggest issue.
get like a table, where it could be like kind of on a corner and you could have the front facing one side and the back so you could kind of just have access to everything. um, I love the fact that they put ledges on the cavern, on the
Mhm,
cave parts, the mountain parts,
mhm.
because you can put characters on there. That's
Yes, yes. I
I'm
love
telling
that.
you, just it blows me away.
I'm
The
glad that they did that. Because
Yeah,
when I first saw that tease of the side of the mountain, I thought, please, 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 let there just be something on the front so that they can stand there. I was secretly hoping that there was like a little landing spot behind. I'm wanting to point on my screen behind the shoulder where you can actually plug Mandora's bike on so that she can look like she's flying
oh
over the edge of over the shoulder of the layer. Uh, it doesn't look like that, but that could have been cool. But I'm glad, like you said. And my issue with it is, well, not really an issue. It's so gorgeous in the front and in the back. I mean,
yeah,
I'm going to feel so bad to have to put it against the wall and not displaying the gorgeous inside. I mean, there's so much place, especially now, like you said, that they opened the whole thing. Because when they first showed the silhouette of the layer, there was no mention of the mountain sides, and I thought, okay, but what's going to be where? I mean, there's only so many. So much space inside. What will they actually have there? Will you see this? Will you see that? And when they opened it up, there's way more space now to have the council chamber, because I honestly didn't think it was going to be in there because of the space limitations.
right.
But it's going to be so beautiful. So I'm going to have to like get that cabinet that Super 7 had at the booth, plonk it here in the middle, and then just walk around the whole thing. Because you might want to see everything on both sides. It's
Yeah,
just
man.
such a shame to have to hide something.
I got an idea. Let's have a custom made Lazy Susan
Yes,
that's
yes.
54 inches wide. So you just spin it. You just spin it.
But you have to put pegs in so the figures don't fall over so that they can stay stuck where you put them.
Oh
So you
yeah,
can
you're
have
gonna
your
have to
little pegs
put
all
have
around.
to put little clear bases or something. But a custom made Lazy Susan, that problem is solved right there. Hey,
Yeah.
maybe that should have been the early bird incentive. A Lazy Susan. That is,
You're joking about the lazy season. I actually have a friend that he with when he got Castle Grayskull many years ago, he got a lazy Susan made for his for his Castle Grayskull because he
Really?
wanted to show everything on the inside, and I've seen it. Seen pictures of it. And it's gorgeous. I mean, you can turn this thing around, and it is basically in the center of his display room, so you can walk around it, but you can also turn it. So
See,
that
that's
would be
that
something.
that would be the ideal thing, and that's probably what I would do. Is like if I had the space, like in my nerd cave or whatever, I would have Cat Slayer right smack in the middle of the room,
Mm,
as like on a pedestal or on a coffee table or something, where I could walk around it. It's
mm,
like what they're saying jokingly. What you do is you buy a home and you factor in the space at Cat Slayer, and then you buy the home according to that. So it's like you're you're doing everything based on the dimensions of this thing so that you can get full play value. Um, but yeah, man, I could talk about Cat Slayer all day long, but we definitely had some other reveals in the form of figures, and it's funny because all along Super 7 was showing us Cat Slayer in these pictures, man. Like
mm.
this right here, obviously, that's Cat Slayer right there, man.
But
And all along it was there in plain sight.
it,
But
it went back as far as wave 5 when we actually first saw those
oh yeah, the
teasers
3D
with
render.
Bengali standing in front of
Yep.
it and so on. I asked Brian about it and said, "Well, were you teasing it?" No, 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 no. That's just generic. But I mean, if you scroll through these, the ones where Gru is standing
Yeah.
um, on on the ledge, and it does look quite similar to what the output is
Yeah,
like that.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that is the output. I mean, I think that's a render based on
Mm.
the lines and stuff. It looks like a render, but it's like this one
Yeah,
right here.
I'm in Java. I'm in Java. Yes.
That's a render because you could see like the shadow on Jaga doesn't it doesn't quite match like the paw, but
Hmm.
all this time that it was in plain sight, man. I think what do you think about Wiley Kit in terms of Wiley Kit and Wiley Cat? Do you think they're going to be significantly different from the Mattel ones?
Well,
Obviously,
they
the
look
head sculpts,
they look different to me.
they
Yeah,
do.
the head sculpts are way better.
Yeah,
Um, way better. I Walikit and Chitara were the first Thundercats that I ever owned as a kid, and I really can't choose between the two because they're both my favorite characters. But the one that we got from Mattel for Walikit, I was always a little disappointed somehow because there was just something wrong with the head. Um, it just didn't quite get to the cartoon for me. It was good, it was beautiful, but it just wasn't just there. So when Super 7 came out with this, I was hoping that it was going to be an improvement on that, and it sure does look like it is a big improvement. She looks very good. Uh,
yeah,
him, I was worried because that bloody shoulder, that wrong colored shoulder pad that he had, it's been irritating me since 2016. I hated it. I still despise it. I really hope that Super Seven's factory doesn't mess it up and does make it the correct color. I believe it will. But he looks good. He looks good. He looks a bit
yeah,
skinny in comparison to what we've got, but it might just be the angle of some of the pictures. But I'm looking forward to getting. But I like what they did with the hoverboards,
yeah.
especially that little cloudy bit there at the bottom.
This toy color Jaga is really awesome too. And did you notice from the prototype images from Comic Con that
Yes, the belt,
no, the crown comes off.
the crown.
It has a removable
Mm.
crown.
Oh, the helmet.
Yeah,
Yes, it's removable. Yes.
but in the solicitation pictures, they don't show it because it would have been cool. They had a picture of him holding the
Yeah, no, they don't show it in there.
the
They just
helmet.
show that they just said that it is removable. And then he's got that one head with the hair sticking out, but that one with a helmet on it. It is removable, just
I
like
think
the
that's really
shots.
cool. And then you notice how the
Yes,
sword, they did the metallic finish on the sword, just like the
yes,
toy. I,
yes.
I'm really loving
And
these toy
I
colors.
told you. What did I tell you last time when we did this? We were speaking about Grun. I didn't say too much, but I said to you, I think Grun might be next.
You know
You told me $50.
the one the one thing I hope is that they fix his hips, man. It's way too much space in between those thighs. It just looks weird. I know it's like an
I
opportunity for them to kind of modify.
I don't think it will happen. I think it's basically they've got the mold, and the only part that's going to be new is basically the head.
The heads and
I don't think that
the
there's going to be
color.
any changes to that. Yeah,
And what
I
do you
don't
think
mind it,
about this?
but I get, huh? Super pack.
What do you think about the
So it's a
super hat? Like,
sensitive subject. Sensitive subject. I was hoping that we would get something like that for Thundercats. I never expected it to be heads. I thought it was going to be different colored weapons because that's basically what we got with some of the other uh, brands. I never expected that. So, but now my biggest problem is we've got this Groen with two teeth, and now we don't have a uh, this cat's lair. Well, not cat's lair, cat's emblem one, like he does have with the standard release. So I can't make a Thundercat with him because that's not there. That should have been included here. Maybe I must give Brian a call
yeah,
and tell him,
I
please
don't
just put that
know.
in there.
And some people are like,
Yeah, I
well,
like this.
I like it. I love the presentation. I love the like. It looks very LJN, the card art and everything.
Hmm.
But I think the problem is that a lot of people are skeptical, or maybe not so skeptical, but they just reluctant to order direct from Super Seven because they they don't like paying for things up front. You know,
Yeah,
um,
I get that. I mean, I've for me it's been like that for quite a bit. I mean, I haven't the last wave back in the day that I paid for upfront was wave two, and that was quite a while back because then immediately after that, when wave three came out, uh, COVID hit. So I had to not prepay everything. I had to pre-order and then pay later with Big Bear and so on. So it was tough for me. So I think a lot of people probably fell into that trap. Well, not really necessarily a trap, but into that situation where you can't afford to pay for everything upfront. And hey, that's my picture. Not that. And but and also the issue was with other people getting it first from Big Bad or wherever, and then Super Seven, who people paid up front, they got this later. I did hear though that Brian said something that people who ordered from Super Seven, they're gonna get their stuff first.
yeah,
So
he
I'm
mentioned
assuming
that
that is
that's going
with
to be like another incentive from ordering from them. And I always, you
yes,
know, I was curious about that because you need to have those incentives. Like if you're the source,
yes.
you should get the stuff first, not everybody else, you
Mm,
know?
mm,
Um, so it only makes sense. I unfortunately, by the looks of things, I'm not gonna get the super pack because I don't
mm.
qualify for payment plans, and I'm not gonna pay. I can't afford to pay $220 up front for this wave. I just can't. And I'm like in the process of paying off.
Especially with the layers as well being at the
Right.
same time.
Yeah. I just can't. I can't do it. I can't do unfortunately, I can't do payment plans, and I'm in the process of paying off my credit card. So, oh, Playtime Returns is here. What's up, man? What's going on, brother? It's a bummer that you're unable to get that heads pack. Yeah, it's a total bummer. But you know what? Maybe later down the road, Brian will, offer them to other collectors. I think, yeah, no one can in this U.S. economy. Yeah, right now, man, I'm in the process of paying my debt down and just trying to. We're actually looking to move because we're in South Florida, so we want to move up north where cost of living is lower because it's
Mhm.
just really bad, man. Like rent is insane over here. Let's see, we got Dwayne Otley. Should Super Seven start a payment? What do you say? Payment.
Option Pro, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Option
Payment
direct, something
option
direct.
direct. Um, like with them directly instead of using Shop Pay. Maybe that's what he means. All right, Playtime. Thanks for dropping in, man. Um, yeah. So I think it sucks, man, because I really wanted those heads, but I don't. I'll have to just like buy them off of somebody
Hope,
later on eBay.
yes, yeah, hopefully you can get them on eBay or something like that.
Yeah.
I,
The
I
only
don't
thing
know how
I've
many
gotten
people are
directly
gonna.
from Super Seven was Jaga, the Ghost Jaga. That's the only thing I've gotten from them.
And Chitara,
I didn't
did you
get
miss out on
Chitara, man.
that?
I passed on it. I love my
Yeah.
Thundercats, but there's there's just like I don't know. I'm not feeling that figure. I don't feel it. Like I would love an accessory pack where there may be like an
Mhm.
attachment of
Mm,
showing like wind gusting and putting her in
yes.
there like running, that kind of stuff. But like her going yellow, I don't know. I didn't feel it. I thought it was too gimmicky. Out of all the ones that have come out, that was too gimmicky for me.
You
Um,
know, Super Seven likes glowy stuff and
that's true. That's true. 650 up front or pay 1,000 third party. Uh, that's the reality we're living. But unfortunately, right now, a lot of people are choosing probably the latter because they'll probably
mm,
have that 1,000 in 2 years. Because we're not going to see this thing till like what they said October 2024, but realistically,
mm.
I'm thinking March, April 2025.
Yeah, unless they've already started with it, which would be awesome. Uh, um, I don't know. I don't. Maybe they've got a fantastic factory that is going to be quite fast.
Yeah, Rick AE, it's 8:03 out the door, at least for me in Florida. 8:03.
Yeah, I saw it
Um,
8:12 to New York. That's what
yeah,
it would have cost me. So I don't know. I'm also I know there might be delays. There's always delays. That's how things work. If there's something that's not right, then they have to fix it. So there's possibility that it might be delayed to 20. I don't mind. I don't mind the delays. As long as it comes. It just needs to get to that 3,000. So to the 1,000, almost 900 other people there that still hasn't bought Cat Later, please go and buy it. You've got until the 17th of September and you have to go buy it.
let's do
So so that the two
one
of us
more
can
live
have it.
update. Let's do one more live update. I'm gonna hit refresh. I don't think this is
Wow.
realistic.
There we go. 193.
See?
It changed. One. Ah, I could have thought I saw 93 now. Maybe it was just something that was
Let
stuck.
me hit refreshing in. Sometimes it's gotten like stuck and it's like the other day for me it said zero. No,
No, it's still
1184
1184.
stuck there. For a minute there, I'm like, damn, our stream is making people buy it. No,
Well, who
1180.
knows? Who knows? Who knows? I just think that um, people shouldn't be on the fence about this. I do understand it's expensive. There's no other way around it. Even though we were all saying it's going to be 1,000, and when Brian said it's 650, I was like, wow, that's cheap. Yes, it's cheap when I expected it to be 1,000. But it is an expensive uh, hobby. This collecting action figures is expensive, especially
Very.
if they're tailor-made and they're limited stock. If they're gone, they're gone. This
Especially
thing will
when
be
you
gone and
don't
you'll never
just
get it.
especially when you don't just collect one line. That's when it gets
Yeah.
really bad.
Um,
Like I just got this from Amazon.
you are hopeless. I
But,
give
but
up.
here's my thing, man. I would love to see this type of product with Thundercats, man. Like, just I feel like NECA does that Ultimates thing so well. You know, the detail, the packaging. I don't know. I just wish it was a little bit more because that's a lot of people, collectors. You know, even though they're Thundercats fans, they're not the biggest fans of the articulation on Ultimates, man. And I gotta say,
No, no.
there's things like which I mentioned to you before, where you can't really sit the characters properly in the Thunder Tank because of the rubber speedo piece, you know, the crotch piece,
Mhm.
and the way the articulation is arranged around the hip. It just doesn't let you do like a full natural sitting kind of pose.
Mm.
You know, little things like that, they go a long way because when you're asking $55 per figure, you know, you want to get the most bang for your buck. And honestly, domestically, no company is charging that much for a figure right now. When you talk about international, yeah, they're past the $100 mark. You know, if you're getting the Mayfex figures, they're about US, they're about $100 minimum. Um, I get my stuff from Hobby Link Japan. So for example, I just got the classic Thor from Mayfex. He was $62 buying it directly from Japan. But when by the time you ship it over, you're paying like another 20 something, maybe 30 shipping. So it's averaging out to like 90, getting close to $100, you know. Um, so I feel that that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are skeptical with Super 7 is because, you know, we're getting the characters, we're getting the deep cuts, we're getting a lot of stuff, but we can't really do a lot as far as posing is concerned. You know, um, you can't do some crazy poses with these characters like you could with like a Marvel Legends or a NECA figure. You know what I mean?
I I don't mind it. I think probably because that is what how it was offered at the start, and this is the style that they're doing it. So that's what I expect. I get why some people would prefer some different articulation. I had the Bandai liner with the double jointed knees and elbows and all of that. No, I hated it. I hated it. It was just too much or not articulation, but it just the look of it didn't flow. It just
No.
looked too cheap. It was just too many bends here and bends there. But that's a personal preference. So that's why I probably like this. I like the simplicity of it.
Mhm.
But yes, it is sometimes difficult to pose a figure. They don't
Here's a good
always
example. This right
pose
here.
the way that they should.
This is a really good example. Animal Warriors of the Kingdom,
Yes.
domestic toy line, right? Uh, $25. Comes with interchangeable hands, extra weapons, and he can do so many things that I wish I could do with Lionel. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
In terms of
mhm.
the versatility, you know, holding a sword like Conan. I just wish we could see that with Thundercats.
I
You know what I
get
mean?
that. I get that. Yeah.
But you know what? I feel that just like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has like 10 or 12 different toy lines right now going on. I feel like eventually we're going to get some competitors. We're going to see other companies trying to tackle
Mhm.
Thundercats, whether it's from abroad or domestically. But I can see in the near future some other people trying to take a dip of the IP. You know, I
Mhm.
mean, Mezco did it already in the 10-inch scale. I don't know if you own any of those, the big ones. Um, and I'm waiting with bated breath for them to
So
announce
the rest,
the no, not the
the
rest.
mutants.
No, I want them to do Mezco 112 Collective Thundercats.
Okay. Okay.
Man, that would be amazing. Of course, we're talking about $80 to $100 per figure, but you know they're gonna have obviously the speedos are gonna be fabric and There'll
Mm,
probably be light up features, and there'll be all sorts of stuff, enhancements. But I think that's the world we live in now. It's a world of choices where you have, if you don't like this Batman, you can go to this other company and get the Batman you
mm,
want. You know, whereas Thundercats, right now we're pigeonholed. We just all we have is Super Seven, which is also an advantage for Super 7 and also a reason why I think we're getting so many deep cuts and we're getting such a robust toy line because there's no
mm,
competition. Um, Probably if there were other players in the game, uh, we would just see like core characters, core mutants, and maybe some scattered characters, but we wouldn't get like these deep cuts. We wouldn't get Cat Slayer. We wouldn't get Thunder Tank. You know what I mean? So there's pros and cons. I love my toy line. I mean, I love it. Absolutely support it. But just as a collector that's been collecting for a long time, I've seen the toy industry evolve, and we've gone from the first figures that I ever purchased when I was a teenager, Star Wars Power of the Force, which were basically 5 points of articulation, to the level of monstrosity of articulation that figures have nowadays, where you could basically pull off any human movement almost naturally. Um,
mm,
so that really, and I guess the aspect of being an artist and kind of visualizing the way I want to post my figures and dioramas and stuff like that, I want to get the most out of movement out of my figures.
mhm.
And
Yeah,
a lot of people are happy with the vanilla pose and the simple, simplistic stuff. But for me,
like
man,
me.
you like the vanilla pose? Yeah, I mean, it's
I
just
don't, I love it. I'm corny. I'm silly. I just like these figures. I mean, they're awesome. That's when I first got into action figure collecting as an adult. It was, I mean, I started collecting the vintage ones again in my late 20s, and when Mattel came out with these with their first batch of Thundercats, I was like, this is what I wanted. In October, I think. Um,
October.
and
Yeah,
this, I was like, this is really what I've always wanted. And because of that, I got into Motu. I mean, I knew Motu as a kid, but I loved it when they brought out Club Grayskull because I prefer the cartoon versions of it. And it was just like, wow, these are so awesome. So ever since then, that's what got me hooked into this scale specifically. And that's what I like. I'm used to this. I don't like I said. I had the Bandai 8 inch and the 6 inch and the 4 inch ones. I This is the scale I prefer, and but it's that's just a preference. That's what I like. But there's so many different other options out there, like what NECA does with TMNT as well. So I'd be all for it if somebody else also makes Thundercats. But I don't know if everybody wants to risk it. Some people might see Thundercats as a sensitive subject. It's should they try and do something? Is there a big market? And I think Super 7 has proven that there is a big market. There
yeah.
is definitely an international market for this, and I'm thrilled that Super 7 were the ones that went after it. And look where we are today. We've got a cat here coming.
Do you remember? Do you remember? Uh, God, what was it like? Maybe 4 years ago, when Brian used to do his YouTube videos on like Super Seven News and stuff, and he did one where it was a
Don't
grave,
don't say
and he was
don't
like,
say.
"Breaking news: Thundercats is dead."
I was so upset. I was so upset.
Dude, but
I
it was
I made a comment somewhere, and I'm so ashamed that I did that. But I was so upset. I was like, Brian, how dare you make fun of this? This is not funny. This is heartbreaking. This I was so furious. And I was like, no, you cannot say something like that. How dare you? We all were rooting for you, and why would you do something like that? And then, well, years later, it's like, yes, I've got it, and well, you know the rest. But that was funny. I actually did a should soon. No, no.
no, absolutely
Next.
not, Dwayne. How dare you
No.
ask that question?
Why? No, we just got the lair. We want the Mamro's tomb. We want Castle Plundar. So no,
Oh
no,
my
not
God,
yet.
Castle
A few more
Plundar.
years.
That would be like, because Mumra's tomb is more viable. Like we know that if we got Cat's Lair, it's safe to say that Mumra's tomb is in the books, like for sure. Um, but and then mini rigs, I'm pretty much thinking like nose diver, sky cutter. Um,
Yes.
I don't think we'll get a fist pounder. That thing is too big. Uh,
Yeah,
but
one seater maybe.
but who knows? Who knows, man? If wow, Castle Plunder, that would be amazing. But
Did you see that mock-up that somebody did of Castle Plundar?
no,
It was I, I shared it a while back. It's amazing. It's scaled with the vintage toys, but the Ultimates also fit with it. It's basically like Snake Mountain, this facade, and it's got these massive wings, and it's stunning. It as a shell itself, it could work so well. I mean, obviously there would be layers inside at the back for different
right?
spaces inside, like chamber rooms or whatever it is that they want to put in there. If they ever were, but that thing is massive. That thing would really probably tower over Cat's Lair, be a little bit bigger, especially with that those big wings because they could like close and then open,
Yeah.
which was it's beautiful. I'll find a screenshot and send it to you.
Let me
It's
ask you,
really stunning.
what is on your wish list
On
as
my wish
far
list,
as upcoming reveals for the figure line?
figures. I would love a young liner. That is probably very corny, but
So like the
um,
pre-aged Lionel.
episode where he got the sword before he got um into the time capsule.
So from
That
Exodus, right?
yeah, yes, that
Okay.
one. I would love that one. Probably because I mean that's such an iconic episode, and not the naked one. Before I get hammered, that I just want the naked
No naked
Thundercats
cats. No naked cats.
again. I'd like that one, but that would probably be a fun variant somewhere as an exclusive or something. But new characters, I would really love Jagara. I would love her. Her purple is just something that just stood out, and that dress of hers, everything is just it's so magical. I really love her. But then there's other characters like Wizra that has stood out. Queen Tartara and that Arieta bird. That is probably because I had the sticker book when I grew up, and I kept looking at that. I didn't have the DVDs obviously as a kid, but I kept going through that sticker book, and some of those stories that were in there, they were just like those specific ones. That the one with the Arieta bird and the Queen Tartara, but not necessarily her, but that bird. I really do want that bird. I was hoping he would come with Snarf. Maybe he would come with Snarfer. Cloudus, I definitely want Cloudus. I think everybody wants Cloudus and Kano. And then, but those are just the main big ones. But there's some deep cuts. Um, which deep cuts? I have to think now. I would like all of them, but which ones? You answer me in the meantime. Let me think. Maybe
So
you can bring up something.
my short list, these are like more deep cut kind of characters, but Wizra,
Yes,
um, Automaton.
that's a big one.
I would love uh, Excalibur, like King
Yes,
Arthur, the armor that Mumra
mhm.
wears. Um, Thunderian Guard 2 pack, or
Yes, yes,
possibly a
yes, yes,
Thunderian
yes,
Guard army builder pack where it would
yes.
have different
Different heads
Thunderian
and
Guard heads. I
yes.
mean, if they did which I was surprised they did that so early in the game, the reptilians, um, they could
Mhm.
definitely do Thunderian Guards. Um, I want to see.
That's
Uh,
got the body with Pumra. They can use that sculpt for Pumra as a plain body because I mean they just have to put the armor on top of
yeah,
him and then just put a different head and repaint the
yeah,
whole thing.
that's true. Pumra's body works for that. So that's an easy one, Brian, if you're listening. Um, yeah, Thunderian Guard. Automaton is a big one for me because I would love to display Automaton fighting Hachiman. Um,
Mhm.
what's another one? Wizra's really cool. Um,
There's so many characters. I need to
there is. I'm
try and.
dying for Safari Joe. He has to come next year. Like
Oh,
Safari.
talking about, yes. Um, I would definitely like to see Driller. I never owned a Driller, so Driller is something that I would. It's not that deep cut. I mean, he was an LJ figure, but I would love to see him. And people have asked me, but how would they make him so that he could actually stand? I mean, that old one had the three legs that from this that could go up to that. So maybe I know the 4-inch line from Bandai had uh, a driller planned for one of the future waves, and he basically stood in something.
Mhm.
This doesn't look good. He stood in a mound,
Some sort of
and
base, just a clear base
yes,
would be fine.
and I know that NECA did that with one of their characters that came out of the ground. That it was like a bit of sand, and it looked like he was coming out of it. Which one was it? I think
Oh
one of that
yeah, you're talking
was
about
mold people.
the mole
Yes,
character from the TMNT game,
yes,
the
yes,
from the TMNT cartoons. Yeah,
yes.
that's
And
that's a cool.
Stinger. I would love Stinger. I never
Uh,
owned a Stinger. Even though he wasn't in the show, that toy was fantastic. I would love to see the interpretation, and I think that he would probably fall under the LJ inside. I mean, that would just make absolute sense.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I think another thing I would really want to see, I would like to see them take on some monsters, maybe like the Astral Monster
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
the
Dinosaurus.
the Tongosaurus, stuff like that, man. The Ice King, um,
Hmm.
you know, there's a lot of room to play. You know, there's a lot of space to play in that sandbox still. You know, there's a lot of stuff left to explore and to make. Um, I'm wondering, like, when they get to, if they do the aged Tigra from when he goes
Hmm.
into the Cavern of Time, I wonder if they're going to give him like a skinny body. Because if they give him the
Hmm.
muscular body, it won't look right. Because he
Hmm.
was like really skinny, you know, and
Hmm.
like he was like to the point of starvation. Like you could
Yes,
see his ribs and stuff. So
yes.
I hope that if they do him right. You know, I don't want like an old Tigra with like a muscular body. You know.
It makes sense. I mean, it doesn't fit. So. I'm trying to think now which thinner bodies Super 7 has. I mean, what's his name from TMNT? That guy with a mask, with a hockey mask,
Oh,
uh,
Shredder,
with a bat. No, not Shredder, the
Casey,
good guy, the one of the
Casey
Casey Jones.
Jones.
Yes. I mean, he's got a way more skinnier body. He doesn't have that bulky body. I mean, even the Power Rangers, they've got nice and skinny bodies. They're not bulky, so it's possible they can do that. They've done it already. Anyway.
Yeah, it would be. You know, it would definitely take new sculpting to be done right. You know,
Mm.
um, I would love a pack, if not two packs, like a 4 pack of the Thundercats as children.
Yes, yes, the
That would be awesome.
Thundercats.
The
Yes,
Thunder Cubs. That would be
yes,
awesome.
yes.
Love that.
I would like that too.
There's just so much cool stuff, man. I was thinking about like, the name escapes me right now, but the bounty hunter, um, the armadillo,
Demolisher,
demolisher,
Demolisher.
and
Yes.
he has to come with this little dude playing his drums.
The armadillo. Yes, it does
He's
look
like,
like an armadillo.
the demolisher. The demolisher would be awesome. I mean, there's so much cool stuff, man, and I've been really surprised with the selection of characters that Super Seven has been choosing. Like, I didn't think we were gonna get another Loon attack so quickly. Um, Some people are saying, "Whoa, slow down," do other berserkers. Speaking of berserkers, you remember the original concept art for Hammerhand had his
Yes.
original
But it,
pirate face.
yes.
I would
Yes.
love for them to do the pre-cyborg Hammerhand, you know, like the where
Yes.
where he looked more human. That would
Yes.
be a really cool variant. But
Yes.
that's pretty deep cut, in the sense that
Yes.
where I guess they went more with a toyetic Hammerhand, and then that would be more like
Yes.
a cartoon um, Hammerhand. But yeah, there's just so much. And then something we haven't even talked about, and I brought up with Brian, and I know you have too, is the Cartoon Network Thundercats. Like, I think it would be really cool
2011. Yeah.
to have the big Claudius, the big awesome lion Claudius, and have those more anime looking ones. I don't know if you ever
Yes.
saw pictures from the Bandai line that they were planning on doing like these deluxe 6-inch
Yes.
scale 2011 Thundercats, and they
Yes.
showed a prototype for Lionel, and it looked really cool. It's like super
Mhm.
detailed, lots of articulation. So there's a lot of opportunity there too. And then it goes on and on. You could go into the comics, you know, and in the
I
comics,
want
Thundercats
Bobcat
Thundercats
and
Masters of the
Roxana.
Universe mashup. So
Yes.
imagine if they do
Yes.
like 2 packs, and there's so much cool stuff, man. Um,
You know
it
which
go on
ones
and
I
on.
really want? I know Joe Amora, and I've seen somebody have copies of his three Thunder. It's three or four Thundercats.
Yeah, those comics. I have a
Those were
few. I have
just beautiful. I mean, it's new characters that he created, and they just look so gorgeous. So I was always hoping somewhere somebody would have a comic where they would write these characters in. I mean, they just stunning.
yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
they're beautiful. I love the comic characters.
Oh, Brave
Yes,
Star.
please, yes, please, yes, and Bionic Six, please. I love
Yeah.
Bionic Six. So if Super Seven is listening, please can we get somebody who knows somebody that can get Bionic Six?
Actually,
There's
Ramen Toy is making a
are
Marshall
doing
Brave
Brave
Star,
Star.
and they're doing
Yes,
the horse, and they look really
yes,
cool. I don't own
yes.
any of those figures, but um, they look really good. And then, by the way, I'm going to be going to PowerCon in a few weeks, and I know Ramen Toy is going to be there. Super Seven's going to be there. I'm
Hmm.
hoping, but I really doubt it. I don't want to have my hopes up that they have Cat Slayer there, but because it's such a big piece and it's fragile, I think it would be too much risk for them to transport it across the country from California to Ohio. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna at least, hope to see more progressive stages of the prototypes for Thundercats Ultimates. But it would be cool to see the ramen toy, um, Marshall Bravestar there. There's gonna be a lot of cool stuff to see there. Hopefully the toyetic Silverhawks, which is what I want to wrap up with.
Hmm.
I want to get your 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 chime in on that, man, because Brian, he's kind of pissed off a lot of people because he swore that he could not find a way to make them toyetic, that he couldn't do vac metal, that vac metal didn't attach to the plastic correctly, and then they were there on display at Comic Con, dude. So um what do you think? Because I don't know if you watch all those videos, but like in one of the videos, they actually mentioned that they Super Seven admitted, or Brian himself admitted, that you're gonna get chipping on the
Correct.
joints immediately right out of the package. So it's like, in my mind, is like, why even make them if they're so fragile? Like, should we just buy them and keep them in a box? Because
No, I think no, what he meant was where the joints are here. Let me just grab this. You know, if you can see that section there,
right,
that inside. When they mold the when they get this and they vac metal it. this whole arm, this whole piece is going to be vac metal, including that piece inside. That should not have vac metal on it. So
No,
the moment you do this, it's going to chip off.
right.
It is going to happen because they can't mold just the outside and then put it on the little um, thing that causes the articulation. They can't
Right.
do that.
That
So
makes
that
sense.
is why that will chip off. It will immediately chip off. And I think that is, I know he told me that it's taken them 18 months just to get to where they are now. They couldn't do it. It was just too difficult, but people really wanted it, which I totally understand. So they've gotten to a point. So if you if you listen to the interview that we did, um, and I think we he spoke with somebody else as well, but I do recall we also spoke about it earlier with about Wave 4, that he didn't say obviously that it was because of these vac metal figures, but in hindsight you can go listen and now you can understand what he was actually talking about. That these figures, the factory wouldn't do it because there's so much breakage. Yes, please. That's a good call, David.
That's a good
Man
one,
pub there.
David.
Which one? Which one do you want both? Because there's two options, like the toy one and the cartoon. I like the toy one,
Right.
not the
Yeah,
green one from the two.
definitely.
So
That's a good
so
choice.
in that it was he mentioned that they said there's just going to be too much breakages, and yes, it is correct. There is going to be issues with it, but well, that's good to hear because I saw some comments where people are saying about why I had to get the cartoon ones. Why must I get these now?
Yeah.
I suppose it's probably the same for people who didn't want cartoon versions of Thundercats, and they can now get the LJN versions. So yeah, that's the one big thing with the vac metal. There is basically a disclaimer up front that is just be careful. They're not making it so they can just break like easily, but there are certain parts of the product that because of how they're vac metal, uh, that when they created
I wonder
that
what
area will
I wonder what color is going to be
the
underneath.
inside silver. It's
So
going
then
to
when
be
it
the same
fits,
color of the
so it won't be
plastic,
metallic, but it will still kind
but
of
it will
blend.
have a metallic sheen. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's see, that's not bad. I mean, they're in package, so they're progressively very um they're very up the road already in production. So I know they said the pre-orders when you talked to him, he said pre-orders
Coming in
launch in
August.
August, right?
Yes, yes.
So I think
Those are just test shots and early samples. Those aren't the final products, eh?
right, yeah, no, it's way too early for that. But yeah, man, I'm super excited. Overall, I think this Comic Con was very telling. Where we're living in a world right now where things that we could possibly imagine could be reality, they're becoming reality.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, we have bad economic times, but you know, even with that, there's sacrifices to be made. Like for me, I'm just looking at stuff that I can sell just to get money to like afford to continue buying certain things. And I've been cherry picking more where I'm not collecting as vastly as I was before. Um,
Hmm.
but I'll say this: my Grail announcement, and this is surpassing the scale that we're talking about, would be if we get deluxe 12-inch Thundercats figures. Um, I recently spoke to Attack Peter from Mondo, and I told him, man, they're doing such an amazing job with the Master of the Universe line and the Batman
Hmm.
animated and the X-Men animated. The quality, I can only imagine a 12-inch deluxe
I've
line.
seen your work. I've seen your hints.
You see my
I
concept art.
know,
I'm
I
campaigning for
know
that
what
shit
you want.
hard. Like I tag Mondo on that shit. I'm working on a Panthro next. So
Good.
I would love to see that become a reality. And I get it. It's not for everybody, but as a Thundercats fan that you are, is that something you would invest in? Would you own those?
No.
No? Really? Even if they're like,
No, because I just like this scale. I only like collect this scale, and then the reaction was.
so your
But
Thundercats Ultimates all in. You're not Thundercats all in. Like you won't get
no,
everything. You don't get statues or other
no.
IP
You know,
based
I've
collectibles.
no, I've got some, um, but like you just said, you've started cherry picking certain things, and space is becoming an issue. So yes, please, David. Yes, Snow Meow is a
Snow
good one.
Meow needs to happen.
Um, I I eventually had to come to a point where, listen, stop blocking your comment section. No, it's not blocked. It's not blocked. You can go and comment. Some of our earlier videos were turned off, but there's quite a few reasons for that. So, but you're welcome to DM me directly and complain if you want to. I would say, oh, I've lost my track. Oh yes, I've had to just make a difficult decision and stop collecting everything. Uh, my OCD kicked in, and it was quite tough, especially when it started with turtles, and I was like, I had to have this, I had to have that. I didn't know all of the characters because I didn't have all of them as a kid.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, we do.
For sure.
So
Do your
it
big kid
eventually
on.
came down to deciding what is important to you, and that is where I just decided, well, my main aim is to collect Thundercats and Silverhawks and Tiger Sharks eventually. And then all the other toy lines that I had as a kid that I really want, I just get the ones that I actually enjoy. So
That's awesome. And I
that's what it comes
commend you
down
for
to.
that because
So
for
it's tough.
me,
It's tough.
I'm a nostalgia bitch. Like anything that's nostalgic to me that has a connection, whether it's a film, a cartoon, like I don't know what it is. My wife, she's a mental health coordinator and she's always trying to figure out the underlining layers of why I collect so heavy. And and my I think like the most common thing is, hey, I think I think it's the nostalgia. I think it's just remembering simpler times, remembering my childhood. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Which brings me to the fact that my wife just reminded me I got to go pick up my daughter from daycare. So
okay.
daddy duties come up. Everybody, thanks for joining us. It's been really fun. Egmond, let's do this again for sure.
Yes.
Um, Maybe when we get some new announcements, some more information. I want to track the progression of the crowdfund. So I don't know how it's going to break down, but maybe like do like a countdown for the 30th to see if we get the key, and maybe do a countdown for the deadline to see how far this goes down the rabbit hole.
Mm,
So if you're available, definitely love to do it with you.
well, cool.
Um,
Thanks.
but yeah, man, thanks a lot. Um, Pretty sure it's time for your
Thanks for
nightcap.
tuning in, everybody. It's
Thanks for
almost
tuning in,
midnight. Take
guys.
care.
Thundercats Ho. See
Bye.
you later.